For everyone who's with us today, and even more so for people who are going to be watching this in a recording, we are joined today by Adam Tidrow, and is it Keisha Shepherd with the PathStone Enterprise Center. They are a great resource in the Rochester area, but even beyond, because Adam, am I right that you're in Buffalo?
Right.
And they provide both technical assistance for people who are seeking loans, people who currently have loans with PathStone, and then, am I right in thinking people who are maybe past the point of lending as well? And so we thought that it would be great for us to do a deep dive with Adam and Keisha today to better understand what they can offer members or prospective members of the commissary. Something that we hear a lot from our members and applicants is that they need money, right? No surprise. And that the food industry, it's traditionally quite difficult to get a loan for a new food business. And so I know that PathStone has some exciting news to share with us in terms of some new programs. And we also wanted to make Keisha and Adam familiar faces so that when we refer, they're very familiar with the commissary and the needs of our members. And Adam, I know that Karen, who helped put this together, reiterated this in an email. And I just want to say that too, that I think for a lot of the people who are on this call or are going to be listening to the recording, they are potentially first-time business loan recipients. And so I might be stopping you at times during your presentation to ask you to explain some things for all of our benefit. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to the two of you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, Laura, thank you. This is great. It's always nice, excuse me, to pull back from just the daily grind and doing the work and actually get to talk to human beings again. So thanks for having us. And thank you everybody who came out today. Eventually we'll all be able to meet in person, but this is a nice substitute. I was actually in Rochester yesterday for the first time since the pandemic started. So nice to see. I work out of the Buffalo office most of the time, but Keisha and I both cover Rochester and Buffalo areas, as well as Syracuse and Albany and just the whole region here. So but excited to be with you guys and going to talk a little about, we've got a presentation I'll put on here in a second, and then kind of open it up for questions. But also feel free to if you have questions during the presentation, if you're like, hey, I don't know what that means, or can you elaborate a little more, please feel free to stick a hand up or put something in the chat, and we'll get those questions answered. We want to make sure that today we are a great resource, and we just give you as much information as you're looking for. So I'll go ahead and get started here with the presentation. So, okay, I'm going to be looking over here. But yeah, I am Adam Tidrow. I'm the Deputy Director for the State of New York for PathStone Enterprise Center. And with me today is our Business Development Officer, Keisha Shepherd. Keisha, if you want to say hi and maybe introduce yourself for just a second there.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here to participate in this webinar. I cover the Rochester and the Buffalo area. So if you need any information or any assistance, please feel free to reach out.
Perfect. Yeah, so Keisha is essentially, if you think of Keisha as your loan officer. So when you're looking to apply for a loan, Keisha is your point of contact. She'll help you gather all your paperwork. She'll walk you through the process. She's kind of your Sherpa through the lending process. So a little bit about PathStone Enterprise Center, what we do. We are a CDFI, meaning we're a community development financial institution. So we're not a bank. We're not a place like maybe a OneMain or a Springleaf or things like that. We are a community-based lender. So what we do is we're a nonprofit, and we come in and make loans where maybe a bank can't. Maybe a bank doesn't have the appetite for it. Maybe you're a startup and you're, typically banks will only make loans to businesses that have been established. They've been around for a couple of years. They have revenue. They have money coming in, and they're making money. Maybe more importantly. So, but with us as a CDFI, as a community lender, we can come in and help people who are startups or established businesses. So we can help you if you're at the point where, hey, I've got my business plan. I know what I want to do. Now I just kind of need that capital, that cash to inject into the business and get going. That's where we come in. And we do that kind of in partnership with the banks. We want to get you to a point where you can get to a bank or to another funder, whether that's debt financing, taking on a loan, or if it's investment, having somebody else invest in your business, or even get you to the point where you feel comfortable putting in, a larger chunk of money into your business. So that's where we come in, and we can also work with you if, one of the most common things that we see is damaged credit scores or credit scores that aren't where you want them to be, right? And that's typically a no-no for banks. Most banks have a minimum credit score, and we can come in and help even if you're below a bank's minimum credit score. And one thing that works really well for you is that when you are with us, once we start credit, reporting on your loan payments, that's going to help boost your credit score, which gets you even more prepared for a relationship with a bank or whatever you're looking to do with that credit score. So we are on a mission to expand access to capital for small business owners who may not be ready for more traditional financing. That's probably the easiest way to put it. Most of our borrowers, most of our clients are folks who they're a startup. They don't come from a ton of money. They don't have some a huge bank account that they can pull from. And a lot of our borrowers are also individuals who have been traditionally kept out of financing. So whether it's through redlining or other practices, both formal and informal practices, to keep different populations and communities and minorities oppressed, we come in that space as well. So how we do it, a little bit about the loans. We go up to $250,000 for established businesses, and then for startups, we can go up to $50,000. And that's a pretty good chunk to get started as to use as startup capital for your startup. We also hold year-round workshops. So I say, lending is our primary operation, but where we can make the biggest impact is once we do make a loan to you, you're now part of the family, right? And we're going to get you in. You're going to work with us directly. We become kind of your default consultants. You can call us for, hey, I need help with whatever aspect of my business. Can you give me some guidance on this? Can you help me with this? Actually, this week I've worked with 2 business owners just in developing their budgets and their financial projections, and even some just basic bookkeeping and accounting work. So I've done that. I was just on the phone with somebody else working through a piece of their business plan. I can't help them with the whole thing, just given where they're at in that process, but I could help them with, at least the financial portion of that business plan and say, hey, let's, once you have this done, now you can go over to our other partner and work with them on that. So you can work directly with us. We also have technical assistance consultants that we can pair you up with. So, maybe you need some coaching on SEO or improving your website, improving your social media, improving your, I'm trying to think of a million different things here, but any kind of digital media, digital marketing. Tonight we're holding a class on business ethics even. So it's kind of this, we try to touch, touch every aspect of being an entrepreneur. So in our year-round workshops, that's another part of this is we have year-round workshops, and they're pretty focused. So right now we're wrapping up our probably the most comprehensive program we've ever had. We're in the last 2 or 3 weeks of that. But moving forward, what those workshops are going to look like, they're going to be very focused. So the one that we have in July is going to be all about financial statements. And it's, how to understand what's going on in your business in terms of your finances, in terms of, okay, what happens if I add a loan how does that affect everything else in my business? If I inject $10,000 of my own investment, how does that affect everything in my business? And if I increase my sales by 30% month over month, how does that impact everything else going on? How will my expenses go up? How will my profit go up? So we work on that. We also can get you in touch with folks who can help you with your, if you're in this boat, your minority or women business enterprise certification. Actually, somebody right across the hall from me, another business, does that, and we can get you paired up with multiple people. We have people in Buffalo and Rochester and in the region. So most of our technical assistance that help, that one-on-one coaching and consulting, as well as our workshops, is for pre and post loan individuals, meaning you have to kind of be in the pipeline to get access to those. You don't always necessarily have to have a loan with us to get access to that technical assistance, but we do like for you to be like, hey, I am, I'm applying for this, I'm in the pipeline, I'm looking at this, we're looking to get a loan from you. But that's how you get access to that free counseling and consulting. It's not we're not saying that, we would never want you to try to take out a loan just to get that help. We would rather you come to us, say, hey, I'm looking for help, and maybe I'm not ready for a loan. Then we have a number of partners in the region that we can get you in touch with in the same day. I did that this morning with somebody. They called in and they're like, I'm looking for a grant. I don't want a loan. I don't want to take on any more debt. Like, we don't want to put you in that situation, that position where, you feel like you have to. So what we want to do is I partnered her up with the Small Business Development Center in Rochester. So a lot of options. You can always come to us for help and guidance. And even if we aren't in a position to help you directly, we can get you to the folks who can. And, we are actively engaged in a number of local economic development initiatives. I know, actually, we're in Buffalo. Our office is in the Beverly Gray Center, which is like this hub for entrepreneurship consulting and counseling and help. And I know the mayor of Buffalo just announced some grants coming through the Beverly Gray Center, so we're even involved in that. So a little bit about the loans themselves. So we can, again, we start at $5,000 and we can go up to $250,000. And what we want to do when we're trying to figure out, when we're working with you to figure out, what size loan is going to work best for you, we're going to look at a few things. The primary thing being, what's the use of funds? What are you using this for? And we'll talk more about some ways to use loans in a minute. But also, can you cash flow this? And there's a difference between cash flow, positive cash flow, and positive profit or net income. And I don't want to get into the accounting aspect of that, but so really what we want to do is make sure that you can pay us back. In one, that's just a good business practice. We want to make sure that if we're lending money out, it's getting paid back. But maybe more importantly, we want to make sure that we're not putting you in a position where you can't pay us back. And I'll tell you a really good story. So I've been in this space for about 8 years, and the first year I was doing it, it was one of the first loans I ever made back when I lived in Indianapolis. A woman came to me. She said she wanted to start this business. She had a decade of experience, and she wanted $5,000 to get started. I was like, that's not a ton of money. It's a couple $100 a month for her. It's not crazy. She had 6 kids. She was 32 years old, and she was on a number of different public assistance programs. And she said, my number one reason for starting this business is to get off of public assistance programs and then to be able to leave something for my children. And her credit was pretty weak. She didn't have, she had, no money that she could put into the business. So, her business was going to be entirely funded through this loan. And I went to our credit committee, and they said, what do you think? And I said, I like this. I think she's got it. I think she can do it. I know it's really risky, but I'm willing to work directly with her. And they said, okay, we'll do this, but you have to work directly with her. Well, after we made her the loan and she closed, and that check was cashed, she started the business, but then I didn't hear from her for several months. She never made a payment. And finally, after 5 or 6 months, she called me and she said, Adam, every month I was having to choose between putting food on the table for my kids or paying you. and I just couldn't make that decision to pay you over feeding my kids. And I can't blame her for that, right? There's that human element where I step out of my role as a loan officer, as a lender, and I say, well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense for you to feed your kids rather than, you know, pay me in that month. But I never want to have to tell another story like that. So we will never put you in a position where it doesn't make sense for you in terms of cash. If we know that, hey, this is going to be really tough for you to start paying back on day one, then it's not going to be a good position. So maybe, and that may not mean we have to cut the loan entirely. Maybe we just drop that amount down, right? So we want to work with you to say, you know what, maybe I just had a conversation with somebody today. He wanted $150,000. And I said, well, what if we
I think we can all agree we're over Zoom meetings. Keisha, can I ask you a question in the meantime while Adam's working on getting his screen back up?
Sure.
He had mentioned, and I was actually going to ask the question in the chat, and then he was in the process of answering it. But I would like to know a little bit more specifically. You know, let's say that we have a person who thinks that they need a loan, and that, you know, given a credit score issue or whatever it might be, that PathStone makes sense versus a traditional bank, knowing, of course, you know, that the interest rates are, which I'm sure everybody knows, are higher than a traditional bank, and that, you know, for them it makes a lot of sense. And what I'm seeing is that, you know, if somebody needs money, they probably also need some ideas of how to, you know, most smartly spend that money and utilize that, right? So what exactly does that look like, having an entrepreneur who's, let's say, an applicant to the commissary, getting them hooked up into the free counseling and consulting, and knowing that I'm hearing you about the, you know, we don't want them taking out a loan with PathStone just to get access to those services, but I know that you guys do have a great reputation for those services that you provide. So let's say there's somebody who thinks at least that they're on a loan track with PathStone. What would you recommend? What's the best way to get in touch to kickstart those services?
I would say I would start them out with the small business development department if they're not quite ready for the loan aspect. Do you think that's fair, Adam, to say? That would be their first start, and then that's where we would come in?
Yeah. First, sorry about that. I only ever get so I call in to these things, and they only ever drop when I'm speaking to a group outside of PathStone. So if I'm on a PathStone call or one of our workshops, it works fine for like 3 hours in a row. But of course, you know, 20 minutes into this is going to drop. But sorry, yes, to answer your question. So the best way to get in touch with us is we'll put our contact information up here again. You know, go ahead and call me or Keisha, and we can get you in. Keisha typically has a better turnaround time in terms of connectivity and getting in contact. But if you want to get in touch with Keisha, she can get you to, you know, if it makes sense for you to join us for one of our workshops, it's typically the best place for people the easiest place for people to join in. It makes the most sense is through one of our workshops. And we can say, hey, you know, we've got a workshop coming up in July or September or October. Let's get you in there. But if we feel like, you know what, maybe you need help immediately, we can look at, you know, is there some space for us to help in that? If not, let's get you over to one of our partners and we will immediately partner you up. Because, you know, for us, because we're a nonprofit, we get to make decisions for, you know, that benefit our clients and the people that we serve. We don't always have to be the most involved. We want to be as involved as we can be. But if it makes more sense for them, for an entrepreneur to, you know, work with SCORE or SBDC or one of the other partnering organizations, we want to do that. We want to get you wherever you're going to get the help you need as soon as possible. So if you want to start getting involved with us, give Keisha a call, give me a call, shoot one of us an email, and we'll see, you know, what kind of workshops we have coming up in the next few months, and maybe that's a good place to start getting involved with us.
Great, and I will. You offered, so I'm going to take it. If it's all right, I'm going to make Keisha our point of contact.
Okay.
So that Adam, I'm sure you're more than happy with that. But knowing that you're local and that if you're easier to get a hold of, then in terms of prospective or current commissary members who are interested in lending and the services that are wrapped around that, I think it's incredibly valuable that we have a point of contact. You know, in terms of things getting dropped and whatever, in both directions, right? We would obviously love to have you all be able to say, hey, we just had somebody walk in who's looking to finance a restaurant, and looking at the costs involved, maybe they should, you know, start out in the commissary before, you know, making that step. So, so I think the more that we know about each other, you know, the more it's going to benefit the entrepreneurs too.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Sure.
Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yes, I apologize. Sorry about that.
No, we're all over Zoom. We're so ready for it to be over. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't typically cut out in person like that. So, so like I said, we can go up to, you know, we talked about the amount and all that. So our loans are typically 5 to 7 years in terms. We'll be paying every month on those. You know, the structure, don't worry too much about the structure. It's going to be typically the same amount every month. There are times, especially now with COVID and just things are nutty and have been nutty. There are opportunities for, hey, let's make it a smaller payment for the first 2 years, and we have a balloon payment at the end of that. But you know, that's too much to talk about right now. It's, you know, it's too specific. So 5 to 7 years, our interest rate is 7.5% to 9.5%. That's a little higher than a bank. It's about double what you're going to find at a bank in many cases, but maybe not double, maybe just a little under double. But it's definitely, you know, it's not going to kill you. It's also, we're never, again, like I said, we're never going to make you a loan that is going to hurt your cash flow. That's going to prevent you from paying your other bills and operating. You know, our goal is, you know, our secondary goal is to get paid back. Our primary goal is for you to be successful, right? So if you're successful, that's going to mean that you are paying us back. But more importantly, it means that you're hiring people. It means that, you know, you're able to increase your personal wealth. You're able to create economic development. So that's what we're really looking for here, is we're looking for a way to inject capital into you, invest it into you, and then you grow your business and your community. That's what we're looking for. You know, some small things, there's no prepayment penalty and there's no minimum credit score. So we're not just trying to like nickel and dime you every way we can. Let's see here. Okay. So we talked a little bit ago about, you know, one thing we want to talk, the first question we're going to ask you when you come in and you're talking about a loan is, what are you going to use this money for, right? So I always say, how much you're looking for, and what are you going to do with it? And there's a lot of different things you can do with a loan. So you can make leasehold improvements. So let's say you've rented out a space. We can make you a loan to build that out, right? So you want to improve it. You want to, you know, paint it. You want to add some fixtures. You want to make it your space. We can loan for that. We can also loan for machinery and equipment. So I know I've been part of loans where, you know, we had a bakery back when I worked in Indianapolis. We made a loan for like one of those huge like kitchen mixers, you know, one that's like the size of like 2 oil drums, you know, one of those. So we can make loans for those kind of things. We can even make loans in some cases to purchase an existing business. It's a little more involved. You're going to have an additional party in there in the current owner, but we can still make a loan for that. Business expansion, if you say, hey, I'm looking to take my business to the next level and I need some working capital to do that, cool. Show me how you're going to use that money. You know, all these categories here, startup expense, working capital, gap financing. You know, gap financing is a little different. So let's say you need $150,000 and the bank says, okay, we'll give you 100, but you got to go find that other 50. We can come in and be that other 50. We can come in and take a subordinate position, a secondary position on collateral so that you can get all the money you need. Can also loan for inventory, but all this stuff, you know, these are just categories, right? And businesses operate outside of categories. So when you come in and we say, you know, what are you going to use this money for? Just tell us, hey, I want to buy this mixer. I need to buy a new sink. I need to buy this equipment. I'm going to, you know, I'm using this to update my truck, my food truck, so that I can go to these different markets and sit outside these businesses every day when they invite me. And, you know, so whatever those are, whatever those expenses are, just tell us like, hey, I need $25,000 to do this or $100,000 to do this, and really itemize it out. Tell me exactly what you're going to buy, because then I can see, Keisha and I can see how this money is going to help you grow, how it's going to take you to the next level. And then we can go to our underwriter or to our credit committee. I'll walk you through that process a little bit. But we can go to our credit committee or to our underwriter and say, here's exactly what they're going to use the money for, and here's how you can expect that money to grow the business, to help the business grow, to take it to the next level. So that's some use of funds. So how to apply, I'll walk you through the application process on your end and on our end. So you'll work with us, we'll get you an application. The application right now is a fillable PDF, so that's as easy as we've been able to make it. It's a lot easier than printing it out and handwriting it and then scanning it in and sending it back. So we've got a fillable PDF we can use. We'll ask for resumes for anybody who's an owner, typically an owner of 20% or 25% or more. And then we ask for your business plan or a business plan summary. If you have some like 250-page business plan, while I'd love to read that because I do enjoy that because I have no life and no other interest outside of what I do for a living, a business plan summary may be better, right? So it may be something that's 15 or 20 or 30 pages or even 5 pages. Is actually, do not go buy this book that I tell you about. I'm full disclosure, do not buy the book I'm telling you about. The 7-page business plan is a book I wrote because I saw that entrepreneurs were just confused on, do I need a 20-page business plan or a 100-page business plan? Really what we want to see is, do you know the problem you're solving? Do you know how you're solving it? And do you understand the money around that? And maybe more importantly, whose problem is it? So, you know, hey, I'm opening a food truck and I'm going to go sit, you know, I'm going to provide food to this community because it's a food desert, or maybe, you know, they don't have the food that I'm serving, and I know there's a desire for that, and it's hard to get across town. You know, tell me why you're in business, who you're serving, and what you're doing for them, right? That's the basics. And then show me the money portion of it. And financial projections, especially your cash flow, show us how the cash works, because then from there we can say, okay, if we add in a $20,000 loan or a $50,000 loan, here's what's going to, we know how to manipulate that cash flow. We know how to work that cash flow so that it makes sense. And when you need help with financial projections, and we'll talk a little bit about finding templates and things like that in a few minutes, but a great place to start is the Small Business Development Center, or SCORE, because they have incredible programs that they can set you up with. They have a great workbook, like an Excel workbook that they help you out, they use to help you out. Also, a personal financial statement. Why do we need a personal financial statement? We're not making a loan to the individual, right? Well, as a business owner, you are responsible for the business. And so you're individual in charge of a business. We want to make sure that, you know, we want to see how you've managed your personal finances. We want to see your personal credit score. We also want to see, okay, do you have The necessary funds, do you have the necessary income in place where if the business can't make this loan payment for 1, 2, 3, 4 months, that you could step in and pay that, right? So that's why we want to see a personal financial statement. We also want to see what kind of debt you're carrying. You know, are you crazy leveraged? Do you have like, you know, $300,000 in student loan debt, or, you know, a house that's upside down, or a car that's, you know, crazy underwater? We just want to see that. Doesn't mean that it's an automatic no. We just need to be aware of those things, right? So this is all just having information and being aware of what's going on. For existing businesses, we also want to see an income statement and a balance sheet. So what has the last year look like? What did, you know, right now I'm asking people, what did 2018, 19, and 20 look like? You know, I want to see what 2018, 2019 looked like, because 2020 was such an abnormal year. It's going to be an outlier for everybody. And then also what's been going on the first half of 2021. Show me what that looks like in terms of profit and loss. And then a balance sheet is just going to show us what you own and what you owe within the business. What are your assets? What are your liabilities? We want to see that. And then we're going to ask for up to 3 years of personal and business tax returns. Most of you here, if you're in business, most of your tax returns are probably going to be, you know, your business tax returns are going to be within your personal tax returns, right? You probably file a Schedule C, you're probably an LLC or a sole prop, so they're probably on your Schedule C there. So, and we do that because it helps verify what we've already looked at. It helps us verify those other documents. And that's important. It also helps us verify identity too. So once we get your application, we analyze it. Keisha, as the business development officer, loan officer, she analyzes it. She takes it all in. She makes sure it's packaged correctly. She writes up her analysis of it and her recommendation, and then it goes up to my desk or over to my desk. And you know, if we're in agreement, I will then pass it along to our underwriter department, either for final approval, or so he can send it to the credit committee. Anything right now over $30,000 goes to our credit committee, which then comes in and they make the final decision. We meet once a month with them. But if it's under $30,000, we can it's kind of on a rolling basis. Hey, it's just as we can get information to the underwriter so that he can make a decision. That's what we're aiming for. So typically we're looking 30 to 60 days, hopefully closer to 30 to 45 days from first touch to final decision. And if you get, you know, once we get it approved, it's a pretty quick closing process. We just tell you, you know, we go over the terms and everything with you. We disclose all that information. If you're in agreement, then we sign all the paperwork and issue a check. And then it's, at that point, it's, you know, ready to grow. So, and if you're denied, if we are in a place where we can't help you out right now, we will always give you reasons why and a roadmap, right? Because my favorite word to say is yes. I hate saying no. So I want to be able to tell you yes as soon as I can. So if it's a no, we'll say, hey, there's a credit issue, or you know what, we need to see you in business for another 6 months or something, and then come back to us. But stay in touch with us. And that is a really good jumping on point for technical assistance and workshops and things like that, where we can get directly involved with you and help you put some of those systems and those fundamentals in place, so that in 3, 6, 12 months, we can come back and say, hey, you're ready now. Now we're knocking on your door because we want to give you money, right? So that's the process. Here's contact information for me.
Adam,
and for
before we go
Keisha.
on, can I ask some questions about the how to apply page?
Yeah, sure.
If you can just go back. So as I understand it, and you know, I think of myself, because the Commissary is a startup, right? So I've had to go through this, and I've had a ton of help to do it.
Sure.
For instance, an income statement and a balance sheet, I'm not doing that by myself, right? Like I don't know how to do that. So we have a bookkeeper. I have somebody who volunteers, who's an accountant, who helps out with some things. So just knowing that, you know, as a startup with limited funds, is that something that before somebody can even start the conversation with PathStone, that they should have access to that? Or can that be part of the technical assistance getting started with bookkeeping and things like that?
It really depends on, it's a great question. And I would say that it's going to depend on the business. We don't have a ton of capacity to create financial statements from scratch right now, but we have great partners in the SBDC and SCORE who can get those made pretty quickly. But that doesn't mean we have to like, okay, we're going to send you to the SBDC to get those made, and then we'll see you later. It's more, hey, get us all the documentation you can while at the same time working with the SBDC to get those financial statements, to get those projections done. We want this to be I don't want to say quick as in fast and but more, we want this to be a timely process. We know that you're looking for money, and if you could have it today, you'd want it today. So we want to make sure that we're working with you to get that in. So things like financial statements, income statements, balance sheets, cash flow, that's all really important, and it needs to be correct. So we want to send you to the experts, the people who are experts in that, and have an expert system in place to get those done in a timely manner.
That all sounds great. So, and then in terms of a point in time, do you want to see a business operating, above ground for a certain period of time before you want to talk to them? Because I know in the food industry, especially the people that we're working with at the Commissary, there are quite a few businesses where people might be selling things out of their home. Obviously, it's a cash business. Should they really be a legitimate business operating out of the Commissary or their own space, legal space, before they come to you? I mean, of course, PathStone is not going to give a loan to a business that is an underground business. I understand that, but more about the look back in terms of the accounting. Sure. And all of that.
Yeah, so we can work with startups. Somebody who's less than 2 years old. I'm actually looking over my computer here at a whiteboard two whiteboards full of how to answer this question. Because we talk a lot about, okay, what is for lack of a better term, an established business or a legitimate business. And for me, what I want to see is you have more than just an idea, right? And you're not coming to me and saying, I have this great idea for this restaurant or for this bakery or for this for this food product, for this this brand new drink that I'm creating. I'm going to get into wholesale and retail. Okay, you got to have more than that. Have a product, have something that you can come to me and say, this is it. This is what it is. And, even if it's pre-revenue, at least have something. We have a lot of folks who come in and say, I have an idea for a business and I want to start it tomorrow. And then you start asking questions of like, okay, well, do you have a business or do you just have an idea, right? Do you have what's the problem you're solving? Who are you solving it for? How are you solving it? And what's it look like? So what you need to do as a business owner, and I've been in that position too, because I have businesses on the side. I've owned businesses in the past. I've been in the position where what you need to do is anything you can do to strengthen your position. So if you're coming in and you don't have revenue, or you've been operating underground, or you haven't been around very long, have those financial statements ready, have those projections ready, have the business plan ready, or at the very least, have the business plan and historical financials where you can say, I know that to produce, if you're making something like vegan cheese, I know that to produce 1 pound of vegan cheese, it costs me XYZ. It costs me, this many dollars. And then I sell it at, 3 ounces. I sell each piece for 3 ounces and it's $10. Right? So we can see the spread there. We can see what you're making on each piece, and then say, if this is what it costs me to make a pound, I know that I can I can buy enough raw materials for 5 pounds at a time, and I'm going to be able to turn over 1 pound every week or something like that. So be able to come in with those numbers, know those unit economics. And actually, Laura, I will send you an article that I just read that I think everybody who's who's a business owner or works in this space should read, because it talks about understanding unit economics and the lending process and all that. So I'll send that if you want to.
Absolutely, we'll put it on our resources page. And I also want to make a plug that the last workshop we had was about pricing and costing for a food business.
Oh,
so
awesome.
If people haven't seen that, they should watch it. And there are a lot of for everyone who is thinking through that process of, oh, I don't know how much my vegan cheese, costs to make and what I should be selling it for. Please check out our website on the workshops page, because we do have information and worksheets and things like that for people to work through creating those recipe cards.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you guys have done that, because I think the most daunting aspect of owning a business, especially starting one up, is really diving into the numbers. And it's scary. It's math. Very few people like math. But if you get in there and you just kind of take it you start as large as you can. Say, okay, I want to sell this much, and then get really granular. Say, okay, what's it going to cost me to produce 1 pound of this? What's it going to cost me to produce 1 case of this that I'm producing, whatever that is? Or, hey, what's it going to cost me to run my restaurant for a day, 6 weeks, a month, whatever that is? Understand it. What's it going to cost me to create 1 dish? Get really specific with that, and then you can kind of grow the numbers out of that. It's hard to, and I think there's probably a lot of disagreement among, just within this in this space of how do we create projections? Do we start with sales or do we start with expenses? And my suggestion is, and we'll send some, I'm going to send over some templates in the next day or so for projections, that if you can start with sales and say, here's what I'm going to make. I think that I could legitimately sell, $1,000 this month, $1,500 next month, $3,000 the next month, and then go into what those sales are going to cost you. What are your cost of goods, right? So it's for the cheese, I'm selling, $1,000 in cheese, and it costs me in raw materials $300, right? So project those out first. And then when you get down to the expenses, then you can, the expenses like marketing, rent, utilities, salary, wages, all that, taxes, all that stuff, that can come later, because you got to first know how much money you're going to have to work with after you sell something. So I'm selling it for this much. It costs me this much in raw materials to put it out. Then I have this much to cover all my other costs, right? So I would just start at the top and work down to the bottom.
That's great. So, okay, that was me interrupting with a long question. I think you were getting to the your contact page.
Oh yeah, sorry, I totally just exited out. Let me go.
I interrupted you, so.
No, not a problem. It's good questions, very good questions. So if you guys are interested in getting started in this process, you can get a hold of Keisha or get a hold of me. Keisha is the loan officer, so if you're looking for a loan, if you're looking to get started with this, you're going to, she's going to be your primary point of contact anyway. You can get a hold of her at her phone number there or her email address. And Laura, one thing I'll do is I will send you a link we have where we can do like an intake form, just a really quick intake form with anybody who wants to get involved. And it's just like name, contact information, and what time of day is best to contact you. And then we can, they'll just go right to Keisha's and my inboxes. So we can reach out directly like that, instead of having everybody, I know it takes a little extra effort to like send an email or make a phone call. If you just want to fill out this form, Keisha and I will see that, and we'll give you guys a call immediately.
Okay, well, so this is recorded, so we will put this up on our website, and then maybe we'll just attach the article you're going to send me and the intake form.
Yep, wonderful, cool. Any questions out there? I know we got some time, so I will open it up to anybody who has questions about anything we've talked about.
Don't be shy.
Quick question. This is Barb Glassman. When someone has all their materials into you, what is there an average of what the time it may take for the analysis, assuming the information is what you need? Not that there is, some pushback or you need to, get some clarification. What could someone expect for turnaround from both acceptance of information to saying you're approved, and then I know there's another period of time once you're approved for the loan to actually get released?
Yeah, so we're shooting for 7 to 10 days. Once we've got everything, it'll spend a couple days on Keisha's desk, a couple days on my desk, and then a couple days on our underwriter's desk. Now, if the loan is for more than $30,000, it has to go through the credit committee, and they meet once a month. So, and we have to get that in basically 8 days before the committee meets. So if you come in like 7 days before the committee meets, you may be hanging out for, 35 days or so, but you're always going to have a pretty good feel from us of like, hey, this looks good, or hey, there are some major issues with this. We're still going to take it before the committee, but just be aware of X, Y, Z. So I should say that if we get it to committee, once we take it to committee, there's a pretty good chance, since it's gone through 3 other levels of analysis, we're typically not going to send something up that we're expecting to get denied. That doesn't mean everything that goes is guaranteed approval. I want to make that disclaimer, but it's going to go through 3 levels of analysis before it gets there. So, and each of those levels has the ability to recommend it for denial. But yeah, so to answer your question, 7 to 10 days, maybe 30 if it's over 30,000.
Do you recommend, again, something else that I've learned through experience with this startup? For loans, there is a loan closing, which can be a big, hairy deal and can cost, money in terms of legal fees for a lawyer to represent you. Is it recommended that that loan recipients have an attorney represent them for those loan closings?
You don't have to. There's of course, it's one party and another party. So, but we will make everything as clear as we can to you. You are more than welcome to have an attorney represent you, or have an attorney go through the documents before you sign them. We totally welcome you to that. I don't know how often I've seen that in this line of work, but I don't want to dissuade anybody from doing it. But I can certainly understand why you would. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's several different documents you're signing. There's the note. There's the personal guarantee. There's there's certain covenants in there where you're promising not to take out any additional debt without us letting us know and letting us sign off on that. So yeah, so you can definitely have somebody represent you, but we'll also answer any question you have, and we'll walk through every single clause in all those contracts with you.
Could you, and again, just something for people to bear in mind on the front end, because again, things that I've learned too.
Sure.
Can you talk, and I know it's going to be different, but let's assume that, most people here, not here, but, in the startup food space are going to be in that below 30,000 threshold. We'll just assume that for a moment. What does collateral look like? What does the personal guarantee look like? Any general rules of thumb you can give about that?
Yeah, so typically the collateral is going to look like, so let's say you're buying equipment for the kitchen. We're going to take that equipment as collateral. If there's other personal collateral you can put up, we can have those conversations. It's going to be on a case-by-case basis. Typically want to stay within the business with collateral. And there's a good chance, a better chance than not, that we are also going to take what is called a blanket UCC, or a UCC filing, which means that we are going to lay claim to all business assets. So let's say you take out a loan for the food truck, and let's say you pay $10,000 for the truck and then $20,000 to rehab it and wrap it and all that. So you got $30,000 in there. We'll take the truck, and then we'll take all business assets. So let's say one day you drive the truck off a cliff, and you didn't have insurance on it.
Not on purpose, though.
Right? Yeah. Not on purpose. Let's say you just it rolls down a hill. We're not. Please don't do anything illegal. It rolls down a hill, and it's a big, it's a mess. If the insurance doesn't cover it, but we still need to be made whole, we can go then to other assets within the business to indemnify, to make ourselves whole. I don't see that a ton happen. I mean, most of the time we get, money paid back, but just a funny story real quick. There was we made a loan to, this was back in Indiana, we made a loan to a tree trimming service, and he made, he got a big truck and then like a wood chipper, and he didn't pay on his loan, and he through some legal issues he had, some legal entanglements with police officers he had in criminal courts, he was unable to work. So we went, and he had not paid for months and months and months. And so we went one day to go get our equipment. And I asked the repo guys, like, hey, can I go with you? Because I know this guy, maybe I can talk to him, maybe we can work out a deal. And he's like, you don't want to do that. I said, yeah. I was like a 24-year-old kid. I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I went with him, got out of the truck to go, get in the big, in the truck we were repoing. And the guy came out with a baseball bat. So I don't do my own repos anymore, but typically we don't have that issue. But again, all business assets is something we'll take just to make sure the loan is secure. And then the personal guarantee. Let me talk about that. Personal guarantee is if the business fails to pay, you promise that you, as the owner, as an individual, you will step in and pay that. You will pay that loan back. So whether it's for a month or if the business goes under, you step in and make us whole.
And all of this
your loan.
And I would say the anecdote about the repo and the bat and all these questions, they are underscoring the importance of the technical assistance that goes along with the loan. And
absolutely. So once.
And just what Adam was saying about, that they're never going to, and this is what's different about working with PathStone, which is a CDFI versus like a payday lender or, other, predatory lenders or even potentially a commercial bank, but, different story, is that, as he said, they're never going to, give you a loan that based on the projections that you've worked through either with SBDC or PathStone or whoever, that you're not going to be able to pay back based on cash flow.
Right, that 100%, and again, our primary goal, our mission is to create economic development. So we want to work with entrepreneurs and business owners so that every penny that you put into your business or that comes into your business is put back out into the community, fivefold, tenfold, and helps increase community wealth, your wealth. You're adding employees, all that. So you're creating something. So yeah, we never want to put you in a position. Again, I'll say, so I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen one repossession, right, and that was the one that I was a part of. So one repossession, and again, it's because this technical assistance that we provide is so specific. Once you become actually, we're running a financial workshop for some clients in July, and that's because we want to work with them. We want to say, hey, we want to help you understand your business better. We want you to understand, we want to answer questions you may have, because being a business owner can be very grueling. I mean, it can be very daunting and scary and lonely. So we want to kind of help cut some of that, right? So we want to come in and help where we can and give you as much information and education as possible, because you're going to be the expert on your business, and we want to help you understand business in general a little better. That's my personal goal in life, is to make entrepreneurs better business owners, right? So that's That's why I love what I get to do here. So we want to make you a better business owner. The loan is a way for us to get our foot in the door, and then we get to work with you much more closely and answer a ton of questions that you have, and really be kind of your consultant there.
I've got a quick question. When it comes to securing the rates on the loans, what criteria are you looking for?
Yeah, there's a number of different factors that'll go into that. It'll be, you know, kind of the loan size, credit history, whether we, you know, how well we can secure the loan. So if you got two people taking out the same amount of money for the same length, even for the same purpose, if we can secure one loan better, that rate's going to be lower, right? Because the reason we have an interest rate that's higher on that is it helps us make our money back quicker. But if it's secured, we know that, okay, we have this item here, this equipment here, this asset here, where if the loan goes bad, we can become indemnified more quickly through that. So it's a number of different factors, but collateral is one thing that can help, and just a personal credit history is going to help.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I gotta go in the house.
Any other questions? Anything? Any comments? Anything?
Don't want to cut anybody off. But nobody does have anything else to say or any questions. I want to say thank you to you both. I think it's incredibly valuable and helpful for us and our members and our prospective members, and even just people who think maybe the commissary is right for them, but then they want to go off and have their own space or whatever it might be, to have faces and the knowledge behind, you know, what PathStone offers. So for me, this is incredibly helpful. And
Yeah, thank you.
again,
Thank you.
they'll be up on our website for people to refer back to, and you'll get me the article and the intake form, and hopefully some intake forms will be coming your way.
Wonderful. Yeah,